Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Current Status, and I'm Phoummala Schmitt, one of your co-hosts. You can find me on Twitter as @ExchangeGoddess. And tonight we're back. We took a little hiatus there, but I'm back here with my other co-host. Theresa, you want to introduce yourself? Well, I have a Kit Kat.
Yeah, you enjoy that Kit Kat. Send me one. So anyways, glad to be back. My name's Theresa Miller, and you can find me on Twitter at 24/7 IT Connect. And so the question is, do we have a guest this evening? Do we have someone join us?
I have no idea.
I think we do. So my name is Gareth Gudger. You can find me on Twitter at Super Tek Boy. I've also got my blog out there, supertekboy.com, and I'm an Exchange and Office 365 consultant.
Awesome. So tonight we're going to talk about Exchange 2016, and it's been rumored to potentially be the last on-premises version. I hate that word.
Just on-prem, right? On-prem.
I know, and I usually say on-prem, but I went too far, and I had to finish it. It's a mouthful.
I have a Kit Kat in my mouth. That's a mouthful.
Yeah, you're so lucky.
It's really good, too.
I had a brownie earlier, but now the Kit Kat sounds good. Anyways, so in terms of rumors, so we were kind of looking to talk about, do we agree with that? And then possibly some architecture this evening. So, Gareth, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the last version. If we look at some of the things that we've seen and heard, if we look back at last Ignite, Ross Smith, who's the principal program manager over the Exchange team, he said that Microsoft will keep making Exchange if people want it on-prem. So he said that, and authority, and we'll keep seeing that. And then there's other arguments too. The tagline for Exchange 2016 is forged in the cloud, and I think if Microsoft can keep making money on-prem, they're going to keep making it. If it's forged in the cloud, if they're doing all this design and development, if they're putting all the research dollars to develop it for the cloud at scale on commodity hardware anyway, how much is it really going to cost them just to port that back to us on-prem people that can't let go? So
I think we can't let go.
Yeah, or our clients don't want us to let go, right? But and I know
always about us. No, I let go. I'm letting it go. Take it.
Yeah, so I'm a consultant, so it's whatever the client wants, and and I know you guys had JP on last time, and he mentioned a tipping point, and I think that's very true. We're going to see that tipping point. On-prem is certainly going to become the minority. It's going to be interesting on how much of a minority or even how quickly that's going to occur. I think we've seen a more rapid adoption of the cloud with each year, and I think that we're going to keep seeing that acceleration to Exchange Online. So the question is how much of a minority does Exchange on-prem have to be become until they say what, we're not going to do any more on-prem. So, it's hard to say, but then you look at other products. There's still people spending millions of dollars to have XP support. So, it's if people are willing to pay that to keep on XP, I think on-prem is going to be sticking around for a while.
I agree that I think it'll be around for a while, but I could totally see it being drawn out. I mean, if you look at even some of the end of life on some of the current products, I mean, it feels like it goes on for forever. But I also think about like some countries like even are not in favor of cloud like at all because of regulation and concern. So with Microsoft being a global organization with companies around the world, that goes back to your argument that they potentially then could make more products down the road to still support those customers, whether they're in the U.S. or somewhere else.
Yeah, and I can't remember who said it. It was one of the program managers at Microsoft, more on the Office 365 side, and they made the comment that they're going to remove every roadblock that prevents people from, wanting, go into Office 365 or Exchange Online. So, Microsoft's going to keep driving that, where they, satisfy some regulation or satisfy, it can be housed. Because I know some countries, it's, the data has to be in a certain spot. So I think they're going to, Microsoft's going to keep, knocking down those roadblocks. And, like JP said, we're going to see that tipping point, and, on-prem will become a minority. So the question is just how long will it stick around for that minority, I guess.
Right.
Who knows? Honestly, I thought about that. I'm like, it can go on forever because there's just the very last people to hold on. They're going to be the ones that are just very difficult to break through, and I think on-prem is always going to be around. You're always going to have that small little handful that just can't. Whether it's for cost or like regulations, because I know the energy industry, they have really, really, really strict guidelines from security and compliance for any type of critical information. And some people don't think email is critical information, but if you're passing spreadsheets and stuff through email and that data has critical information in it, then that email is considered critical information. So then you have to secure the mail server. So how can you secure it if it's in the cloud? Because it's in the shared tenancy with other tenants. How do you segment that? And I think it's really hard for Microsoft to do, because the regulations from a physical security standpoint, just to secure your servers in the energy industry, is really, really strict.
I think Microsoft's already kind of there. I think they just need to expand on it. Well, if you think about it, they already, when you look at things like Azure and Office 365, they already talk about data centers that they don't publish, data centers that are specifically for government and government agencies. So we already know that they're segmenting off for special groups. Maybe that's going to. Yeah, maybe that's going to get extended past just government. We're going to see, high risk, like energy, high risk targets that need, some special, some kind of special data center that's not published, just like some of the government ones.
Well, let's say you've got a company that runs the power grid for North America. Do you really want them in the cloud?
It's hard to say. I mean, if you've got government agencies that are going up.
Yeah, but it's different. The government agencies is a lot different than a company that controls a power grid. Power grid's a lot more important than the government. Sorry.
Yes, I would agree.
Down. I think it's a lot more important than the government right now, because I want my power. And if the North American power grid goes down, that's a lot of lives at stake.
I agree.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be cases where people aren't going to go to the cloud, or just Microsoft has to have say this is what we can provide. We can put you all these energy guys and high risk targets, we can put them in their own data center, but maybe that's the issue. Maybe they can't.
Let's say you put them in a special data center. Somebody finds that out, and where all the energy companies are at. Well, there you go. That's a perfect target to take out. A complete whole infrastructure of a country.
Yeah, I guess it depends on who can do it better. Can Microsoft do it better, or can the admin?
Logistics of it from any cloud provider. Do you really want all just a segregated data center meant just for energy industry? Because now, from a target standpoint, I mean that's just like a red bullseye. Come and hit me. Take me out if you put all the energy industry in the same location.
Yeah. Well, it may not, be necessarily the same location. I mean, we know that Microsoft has a lot of unpublished data centers. But the question, it's definitely a good argument that, definitely for people to stay on-prem.
Yeah,
until Microsoft figures it out.
Yeah, I think there's going to be certain use cases for that, and when you're in an industry where it's so critical, and if you've got terrorism to worry about, do you really want that stuff out of your control? I don't know. I'm putting on my security hat and just thinking, okay, if I'm in the cloud, I'm in with other people, and they could take out, I don't know, it's an entire industry. They can take out the whole country, depending on what you do in the industry. I mean,
It would really,
I know certain companies that handle some very, very important pieces of the energy infrastructure, and if they were to go down, it would be devastating.
Yeah,
it
definitely.
really comes. I think it really comes down to how Microsoft does architect the back end. I mean, Phoummala, you made a really good point in that. You certainly wouldn't want all the energy industry in one data center. I mean, there has to be a large-scale thought process model with like Uber redundancy in place and other locations for failover, to accommodate that. And until they can, which is, isn't now, people will do on-prem.
Yeah.
But to that same point, do you want all government agencies in the same data center or group? Once you want them scattered a little bit and kind of mixed in.
Yeah.
Because then you could take out all the U.S. governments then.
Yeah, I agree. It applies.
I'm just being, evil there.
Well, they're unpublished, so they say they're unpublished, so we don't really know how many there are.
Please, they're unpublished. We all know. Yes, they're technically unpublished, but
it's the one with the big
there's
Microsoft.
So many emails are unpublished too. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where there's a will, there's a way. It'll be found.
Yeah, so, I mean, technically they're unpublished, but somebody knows about them, and for enough money, I'm sure they could be published somewhere.
Yeah.
Just saying.
The other interesting, wrench to kind of throw in is, is this going to be the last version of Exchange? I mean, we're seeing a lot of the other. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a lot of other products kind of following that subscription model, right? We're seeing Windows 10 is going to be the last major release, and it's just going to be updates. We're seeing that with Office 365 with the click-to-run Office software. So you have to wonder, is that, if that's successful, is that going to end up on all the other products as well? Are we going to see, one final version of Windows Server, Windows Server 10 or whatever, or 2016, and then is it just going to be updates from there on out? Now, obviously 2016 doesn't sound very good to the Microsoft marketing machine, I'm sure, if they do that. So then you're going to have some version that maybe it's just called Exchange on-prem, and maybe it follows a similar model where they just do updates and CUs forever. So that might be,
maybe just Exchange.
Yeah, maybe just Exchange. So, are we going to see that, come across, all their product lines, SQL or SharePoint or anything like that?
Interesting point, yeah. No,
we're seeing it on all the consumer products. So.
Yeah.
Well, and to that point, too, look at what they did with 2016. It's like 2013, Service Pack 2. So
yeah, it is in a lot of ways.
It really is just, they gave it a different name.
Right.
To make people excited about it. So.
Yeah, and if you didn't look at the build number of the server, you really wouldn't know from the management consoles at all.
Right.
I mean, it's identical. The other interesting thing is obviously they've run 2016 technically in the cloud for some time at scale, but when different previous versions of Exchange were released in the cloud, we heard about that, Wave 14 and Wave 15. We never heard about that with 2016 because really it isn't a new wave. I think if you look at the build number, it's like, still 15 point something or 15.1. So
right.
It is very, in a lot of ways, yeah, you're right, like a service pack.
It was marketing.
Oh yeah,
marketing machine.
To create excitement. So they've already started the pattern of the version that they will service pack and update forever.
Well, the Exchange guys say, no service packs, right? They just want CUs and
right.
Exchange Service Pack 1. They didn't want to happen. They just wanted to call it CU4, and
sure.
So they've wanted that for a while.
Wow. I'm sorry, but I'm like totally, not that I'm out of Exchange. I love Exchange, but it's just one of those applications that if you build it right, it runs great.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to water it a little bit, maybe give some food here and there.
Yeah.
You got to talk nicely to it every once in a while.
Yeah,
Link the song.
Get a gift once a year, maybe some flowers for Valentine's Day.
As long as the term Exchange isn't used with the letters SBS, then you're good. You're definitely good.
It's like, if it's built right, it's good. And I tell people all the time, when you're designing it, do it the right way. Do it, but then also do it the way that's going to fit with your infrastructure. But if you make all sorts of shortcuts, you're just going to give yourself a headache.
Mm-hmm.
I find other applications more of a headache, which we won't talk about because, we won't get into that conversation because I haven't had much sleep. But it's just, Exchange is just one of those applications that if you just do it right, it works.
It does. It works really well.
Yeah, and just kind of, here's some flowers once a year. Here's some
so let's
sing to it.
And if you look at what the Exchange team, they've really done a phenomenal job. I mean, they were really the early adopters of a lot of stuff like PowerShell, and they really kind of I mean, they were doing PowerShell before everybody else.
Yes, they were.
So they've really been done a phenomenal job when it comes to real cutting edge stuff. So.
Yeah, well, and so architecture-wise, I think the strategy's been a little interesting with the whole JBOD on hardware approach. Well, and part of why I feel that that's interesting is while it works really well, a lot of organizations are virtualizing their servers and taking on a virtualized approach. Making that a little bit more challenging, creating extra justifications for an organization to even deploy that type of configuration, the JBOD on hardware.
My take on the whole preferred architecture is, if it doesn't fit your business process, yes, it's the preferred, but you have to look at how your business is. If it doesn't fit that mold, then you can deviate from it. It's just a guidance. You have to do what's best for your business and your infrastructure, following within a certain range of the guidance. It's not a Bible that if you don't follow it, they're not going to support you, and all these demons are going to come out and go after you.
It used to be.
Yeah, not. Yes and no. I've been in Exchange forever now, and I haven't had any demons or zombies come out and bite me yet.
They really?
If they did, I didn't know about it.
Well, back in the 2003 Exchange 2003 Exchange 2007 days, it was especially
taboo.
2007. Yeah, it was just starting to be talked about, and it was like the zombie.
Don't do it! Don't do it!
Yeah.
I did it.
Did you?
Oh yeah. I
didn't. I was too chicken.
I did it.
I was working for, being so new. The enterprise I was in was over 16,000 mailboxes. So
I did it for a 30,000 mailbox. So ha.
Okay. Well, you go, girl.
Yeah. No.
I just knew it was,
no fear. As long as your server has the right hardware requirements, you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
They were still running that infrastructure after I left too.
But back then I wasn't. I was chicken.
Well, if you're not comfortable with it, obviously you don't want to do something you're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
But I haven't had a physical Exchange server in, wow, years. Years. Well, my current environment, part of it's physical, but I inherited it.
Sure.
So, but I'm changing that.
That's probably your edge transport role, right?
Don't get me started. As long as I'm changed, I'm like, are you kidding me?
You never see that role. I think for every 30 or 40 Exchange environments, maybe one tried to use the edge transport role, and
it's like, really.
Yeah.
I think that was the most ridiculous role ever. It was one of those, hey, we want to have a feature and something to kind of talk about. I don't know. It's like maybe like cookie crumbs on like an ice cream cone or something. Like, oh, this is really cool, and then you're like, no, you really didn't need it.
Well, let's go get a Barracuda now. So
yeah. Or get me a McAfee spam filter.
Oh no.
As everybody,
God help us.
well, before it was McAfee, when it was Iron Mail, it was actually really good. I had some Iron Mail appliances, and they were not bad. But as soon as they were bought out and McAfied,
No.
they went.
No.
Now, didn't McAfee
McAfee.
buy? Didn't McAfee just buy MX Logic or something like that? Or they used to own MX Logic? Or I felt like there was something there on the cloud side recently with McAfee and somebody.
Well, McAfee was bought by Intel.
Okay.
Intel Security. But for some reason, everybody still calls it McAfee, though. They can't get rid of that name. Everybody knows it's McAfee.
It's still there.
Yeah. Yeah, the Iron Mail appliances, and the Barracudas, which they're okay, I guess. They're better than the Edges.
So we should probably add like an asterisk small print when we're talking. So the preferred architecture, it's definitely a guideline. You got to do what's best for your business, and then the asterisk is, but if it's the supportability matrix, you've got to do all that. It seems like people get those two confused, a little bit.
They'll support you.
They'll still support you.
I've run the Microsoft JBOD design. It works really well. I've run the virtualized as well, and it works really well. So, and they'll support you either way.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The virtualization.
Are you talking about those 3 low letters that everybody keeps talking about with Exchange?
Which letters?
Yeah, I don't.
The 3 acronyms that just gets everybody all fueled up.
Oh, you're gonna have to enlighten me.
NFS.
Oh yes, NFS.
Oh yeah.
It gets everybody fired up.
Yeah, there's a lot of acronyms at Microsoft. So.
Not for support.
Whatever. Just see me roll my eyes. Yeah, whatever.
Isn't that what that means? I'm kidding.
I've done it, okay?
And it's worked really well for you, right?
Yeah. But you have to know what you're doing. It comes down to you guys know what you're doing. You can't be like a brand new, fresh out of school admin, and you don't even know how to manage your SAN. You're just
We've been MCSE, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's another conversation. But you have to know what you're doing. You have to understand, your application. You have to understand your hardware. And if you don't understand it, don't do it.
Well, and that's, I think, part of why Microsoft does have the preferred architecture, because it's clear-cut guidance to make sure your environment works. And not everyone has an advanced level of expertise.
What? No, not everybody's like a goddess?
Not everyone's a goddess.
Sorry.
So talking about storage then, I mean, what do you guys think about, because now in 2013, REFS was supported, and now in 2016, now REFS is the preferred file system for your database and logs. So, what do you guys think about, REFS as the file system of choice for Microsoft for Exchange?
I've got no feelings on it.
Okay.
You have no feelings on it? Is that what you just said?
No feelings on it, because I'm at the point where it's storage, and if it's the right, if your hardware provider supports it, and you have the right specs, really, it goes back to the whole NFS topic. If there's nothing technically preventing you from doing it, or there's nothing technically that says it's not going to work, okay. Is it, then do we really need to discuss it? Yes, it's preferred, but if I put it on this platform, is it going to fail? No. So that's why I have no feeling on it anymore. I'm numb. Because it changes. I'm sorry. I'm just like, hey, are we doing this just because we want people to do something a certain way and be molded into this mold?
I think it's a way, they've probably seen enough issues with those platforms because of configuration and design, that's why it becomes, recommended, not recommended, etc. So I personally have just, when I see things changing like that, I do stay away from them. I've never done the NFS. Yeah.
What do you think about Microsoft's argument that the preferred architecture is basically based off what they're doing at scale in the cloud in Office 365? I mean,
Because they can afford it.
Right.
I'm sorry, they can afford it. They're worth billions of dollars.
But they're not putting in expensive SANs. They're putting in 7200K SATA JBOD.
They are
on ton of drives. and how many racks and racks of drives do they have? Where most businesses, if you're running a data center, your goal a lot of times, not everybody's, but the majority of people, is to reduce costs, reduce your hardware footprint. And when you're on JBOD, that's not reducing your hardware footprint, especially if your databases are large. You're going to need more spindles, right? You can have a rack just for Exchange, maybe 2 racks. Do I really need all that? That's a lot of hardware.
It depends on the size of the organization. The JBOD environment that I designed was about 6,000 mailboxes. Our hardware footprint was low, and the cost of it was really affordable, and it ran really well. So
I'm sure it did.
It's going to depend on the size of the organization. So back to the cloud, that is likely a very large hardware footprint because of how many customers they're supporting.
But even just like a regular organization, an average size or even a small, you're still good. I mean, you're going to have, a server, maybe 2 servers? And how many drives is that? We figure, 20 terabytes. That's a shelf? Maybe 2 shelves if you have redundancy. Then it comes down to half a rack, plus your servers. 3/4 of a rack just for Exchange. For some people, that's a lot.
Sure.
And let's say you're in a colo, and you're only purchasing 3 racks at the colo. If 3/4 of a rack belongs to one application, and then the average SAN may take a half a rack, maybe, I don't know, 6 U's, but then the majority of your space is going to be your shelves for your disks, so that could be another rack. I'm just saying. I mean,
it has the potential to be that, but
well, you figure the average server is about what? But the average physical server for Exchange is going to be a 1U server. You're going to give.
It's not going to be a 1U, but it's
going to be a 2 to 4U server.
Yeah, you can do 2.
2, but then where are you going to put your disk at?
Oh, direct attached storage.
Yeah, most direct attached storage is about what, a 4U?
4 to
6 U's. So if you have a 2U rack server, and you have 2 of them, that's 4 U's, and then you're going to have a DAS for each server, and let's say it's 4 U's for each, so that's 4 and 4, that's 8. 8, and so that's 16 U's, give or take, let's just say 20 U's. Just saying, for 2 Exchange servers.
20 for 2?
Yeah, because if you have a 2U server, that's 4 U's, right? And then, so that's 4. Did I do my math right? So it's 4. And then your DAS, your shelf is about, 4 U's?
Yeah, I bet the consumption space I had, so in that case that I keep describing, I had 4 Exchange servers. They were bricks. Each had direct attached storage, and boy, I feel like the footprint was low. It was.
How many spindles did you have?
How many disks? I don't remember. I'm sorry, but I feel like it wasn't more than from a U perspective, it was just one shelf of storage.
Okay, so one
So
shelf.
they were 1 terabyte. They were 1 terabyte drives. So let's say it was full. So let's say I had
So
10
if
to.
it was full, you're probably looking at maybe 20 to 24 drives. If it,
Okay, 10 per. Yeah, that could be. I don't think they were full though.
Because the
So we
average
weren't
shelf,
using it all.
the average shelf is 20, maybe 24 disc.
I had room to add disk.
But if it's in the shelf, it's minimum
max
is
of 10. Yeah, max. We'll say max of 8 to 10 U's per.
But still, I mean, that's all that could be a blade of 16 blade servers running 1,000 VMs.
Yeah, and I think we saw that because I think in the
just saying.
oh no, I totally agree.
True.
I mean,
a lot. Oh, go ahead.
Every I was gonna say every probably 20 Exchange deployments I see, probably 19 of them are virtualized. The ones that usually aren't is when I'm still running into an 03 to 10 migration or something like that. And they're still running like 2000 free virtual server or something along those lines.
There's valid points to it though, because for the hardware footprint that you have to have a physical Exchange server or a physical Exchange environment, you could probably get a blade chassis filled up full with 16 blades, 8 blades, whatever, filled up and run 500 VMs. Put a NetApp filer in there and a shelf for 2 of disk. Maybe a whole rack. A whole rack could give you several hundred VMs with Exchange and Link and SharePoint running it.
Sure. Yeah.
That's one rack.
Well, I think a lot of organizations are adopting the virtualized infrastructure across the board.
There's a cost savings to it.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned earlier too. I mean, it almost becomes the exception to request hardware for a specific product.
Oh, and if you do it virtualized, you just got to make sure you do it right. I know. I think it was VMware just released a new white paper on Exchange deployment. On the latest vSphere with I think 2016. I haven't read it yet, but if you do virtualize it, you've definitely got to look for the pitfalls on how you're allocating memory and stuff like that. Because Exchange does not like it when it shares memory. So.
Oh no, it doesn't. Well, it's like Link too, and you really got to be careful with your CPU and your host.
You got to reserve that memory
and. The hardware and the host is critical. I know we had some performance issues. And they just kept increasing resources. I'm like, well, let's take a look at this, because is it really the VM or is it your host? And it turned out it was the host. The CPUs were they just couldn't keep up. Moved them to newer blades, and whoa, it was like magic. Didn't have to add any more resources, but just moving those VMs to different blades helped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that as well when there's been host issues, and you just move the VM and suddenly all your performance problems go away.
Yeah.
So definitely.
It's the hosts themselves. Maybe the host is just tired. It's end of life.
It just needs a nap.
Yeah, I know. Just wants to take an afternoon nap, siesta. Yeah. It needs a wine break, right?
Yeah, I think Microsoft's point on the preferred architecture, especially with virtualization, I think they want to keep it simple. They say keep it simple. Don't add that virtualization layer. Don't add that pricey SAN. And they just want it to be simple. And it's probably from a support perspective. And I think it's just this is how we've been doing it in the tenant, and this is how we think you should do it. So again, it's a guideline. It's like ITIL, right? That's all a guideline.
Yeah, it's just you got to look at it and compare it to how your business runs.
Yeah.
If you're virtualized, then you really have to consider, do I really want to invest in this hardware?
Just do it right if you virtualize it.
Yep,
Follow all the guidelines.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be like me and go rogue.
So what do you guys think about the now with 2016? Technically, we're going to pretend Edge doesn't exist. We're going to just say single role server. What do you guys think about the single role server in 2016?
I knew it was going to come back. Everything comes back in style at some point, doesn't it?
Oh, totally. Well, and it's even though it's a single role, they've been promoting that really in a way, even with the previous versions. If their preferred architecture was bricks, where you run all the roles on the same server anyways, it doesn't surprise me that they combined them and reduced that footprint.
That pisses me off, though.
You're pissed and then you mute yourself. You had to mute yourself so we wouldn't hear how mad you are.
Yeah.
You want the separate client access role? Is that what?
No, it pisses me off because we go through this whole thing of breaking everything apart, having separate roles. Now we have to go back. It's like, oh, come on, make up your mind.
Well, we saw that with 2003 and the Active Directory integration of Exchange, and then 2007 rolled along and it broke it all back out again. And so
I know
it's definitely recurring.
It's a headache.
Yeah.
Just make up your mind, do something. Yeah, it pissed me off. I'm like, man, they're going back again. First you say you want to separate your roles, and then you say, oh no, co-reside. I'm like, well, make up your mind here.
Well, I think as well they've just dropped the IOPS so low on the mailbox role. 2013 to 2016. I know at Ignite last year they said that they dropped IOPS like 22% on the database, and they had believed at that time it was even well better than that. So it's probably it could be 25-30%. Who knows? But yeah, I think it gets to the point where they're just saying these could easily be combined. But yeah, I don't even remember the last time I split out an Exchange role. I mean, all the 2013 that I can think of has been multi-role, and a lot of the 2010 I was doing. So at least for a long time.
The 2010 RTM split your roles.
Right.
And then Service Pack 1 or 2?
Yeah, it was one of the later one. They were starting to say, yeah, roll it back in together.
Yeah, it was like it was mid 2010. It was right in the middle when 2010 was released. It was Service Pack 2. Service Pack 1, they were still saying split your roles. It was Service Pack 2. Oh, no, it's a good idea to put your roles together. I remember that because I was just finishing up my 2010 migration, my last job, and that pissed me off. Because I just finished it, and my roles were all split. It was like a beautiful design, and the next thing you know, I'm told, oh, yeah, it's a good idea to put them together.
Yeah.
Like, really? Come on. I'm not putting them together. I just finished this.
Yeah, I wouldn't have either at that point.
It's staying like this for a while now.
Yeah. Screw you. I just go to the cloud.
Well, the good news is now that the roles are combined, it means we're not going to see any environments of Windows network load balancing, which is a really good thing. So.
Oh my God, that's like that was horrible. I had to take apart an environment that used that with SharePoint 2003.
Ooh.
Yeah. Good times. I couldn't believe that they actually did that. I'm like, how did you manage to do that? Anyways,
There's just better ways.
Like thinking nightmares. That was so long ago. But yeah, the things we can do with Windows.
So I'm going to go back to your good times comment. We have been on air for probably 40 minutes already,
really?
Which is a really long show, for us. So it's been good times.
Definitely.
We could talk about Exchange forever. So,
well,
it's been the topic of our last 3 episodes as well. So, and we're still not tired of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, Phoummala's had no sleep. She can go for another 36 hours, we've heard. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But see, then we have to start talking about Skype for Business and Link. And
oh, okay, I'm out. Done.
Yeah.
Drop the mic.
I need more wine.
You'll need to get Pat Richard back on at that point.
Yeah, I need more wine because I think that environment is just, it eats me. It's just, I just cringe now. It is, people used to say Exchange is a beast. I'm like, you've never managed Link or Skype.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, have you ever gotten close to a Link server? Yeah.
I managed Link at my previous job, and yeah,
It's awesome.
It's a great tool. Like, I love the tool, but I really have no interest in dealing with the architecture.
Yeah, at 2:30 in the morning, you go, Link Online sounds really good right now. The cloud. The cloud sounds great right now.
Well, and you've got your enterprise voice there now, right? So as long as you don't need an auto attendant, I've heard.
Yeah, yes and no. And did you know Microsoft they're doing all sorts of crazy stuff with this whole phone system. Yeah, it's actually really cool but confusing at the same time and exciting because I'm like, wow, they're doing some really really cool stuff. And then you think, oh God, I'd hate to be the person that manages it on-prem. Oh wait, that's me.
Yeah, I mean Skype is going to be the one to watch for the cloud, I think, this year. So, it's
They're really
we're already saying it right now with the
Yeah.
enterprise voice. So,
Yeah, they're really pushing Skype for Business in the cloud. I mean, they're pushing it like there's no tomorrow. It's like go go go. And yesterday at 2:30 in the morning, I was like, yeah, let's go. It was cloud was sounding really
Skype
good.
Online, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it right now. I deal with this shit.
Did you say Bud Line? What did you say?
Skype Online.
Oh, Skype Online. I must need a beer.
Yeah. Bud Line. Is that what? Well, I guess we could name a new beer Bud Line.
Yeah, well, the Bud Line. I don't know. Bud Party Line. I'm just making stuff up.
It's late. We're getting delirious.
Good times. Yeah, we should wrap up.
Well, it's interesting that we have one of our top fans on the show, and I'm glad that you are with us tonight.
Yeah, definitely. First time caller, right? So.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah, you guys have got a great show. So.
This is
love being a part of it.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for
hours.
Thanks for having me.
Often.
Yeah, thank you for being one of our biggest fans and supporting us. We really, really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I hope we didn't freak you out too much today.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's good to go.
He's probably
okay.
He's probably wondering when we're going to start. All right. Anyways.
Yeah, we better we're starting to ramble. Okay, everybody. Right. Well, thank you. Until next time. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Yep.
Bye.
Have a great night.